Toastmastering into our club. He will be doing the 7th speech from the Competent Communicator Manual tonight, which is a speech project called Research Your Topic. He'll be speaking on a long-time favorite topic of his, creativity. Let us bring Steve Fournier.
Several years ago, I was at a church finance meeting, and the director of the meeting said, "We need some new ideas to make some money. Let's be creative. Let's brainstorm." I thought, oh, that's great. I love brainstorming. I love coming up with new ideas. And I said, we can do things like, well, for one thing, we can ask people to put more money in. Maybe we can go out and start raffling off some of the old church stuff. Let's send the kids out on street corners to peddle. All kinds of ideas. And they looked at me like I was insane. They didn't want brainstorming. They didn't want creativity. They just wanted to reorganize the ideas that they had. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests, what is creativity? It's a question that I've long asked myself, and I've done a fair amount of reading and research on it. I'm going to share with you tonight some of the ideas I have about what creativity is. Let me ask all of you, what do you think of when I say creativity? Who has an idea of what you think creativity is? Go ahead.
Whenever you think outside of the box.
Thinking outside the box. Okay, very common, very common. Do you have another definition? Go ahead.
I think of the arts.
The yards?
Arts.
Arts. Okay, arts. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, with the spring theme, I didn't know. Okay, so the arts, for example, very good place to be creative. If you look at Wikipedia, they will say creativity is a mental process involving the discovery of new ideas or concepts, or new associations of existing ideas or concepts, fueled by the process of either conscious or unconscious insight. One of the biggest problems I have with creativity is that it is not well defined. There's a lot of ideas about what it is and what it could be, but when one person says brainstorming, another person thinks reorganizing. So what is brainstorming? What do you guys think when I say brainstorming? Tim, what do you think about brainstorming?
Throwing out ideas.
Throwing out ideas
comes in your head.
Right, and nothing is absolutely wrong. You can send your little kids out pedaling. That's absolutely fine when you brainstorm. It may not be legal, but that's my idea of brainstorming also, which is just one aspect of what creativity is. Another common thing that creativity is often thought of is process innovation. For example, total quality management. You guys remember that from the 1980s? Total quality management had the idea that every employee in a business should be able to look at the process, everything that goes across their desk, every part of their work, and make suggestions. This can be done better, this should be done better, we'll have a better product.
Right.
Companies eventually found out it wasn't too profitable, so TQM kind of went the way of the dinosaur. But it is another way of doing creativity. Very often creativity just is an accidental occurrence, something that just happens, and we really don't know why. And scientists still haven't been able to completely figure it out yet. A lot of people will say there is no such thing as creativity. All we're doing is recombining old ideas into new thoughts, and there's nothing new under the sun. I don't know, Matt's nodding at that. I don't know if you agree with that or not. Me personally, I think if there's a thought in your head right now that was not there a few minutes ago, and nobody told you about it, that's creativity, even if somebody else came up with it before. So, let me ask you this. How many of you think that you are creative? How many of you think that you are creative people? All right, well, that's very good. I hate to tell you, but research says you're wrong. Hate to break it to you. Actually, that's not entirely true. You may be creative, but according to research by Chick Thompson, who wrote What a Great Idea 2.0, the second version of the book, creativity actually peaks when we are children and bottoms out by the age of 44. At the age of 44, from the age of 44 until you retire, is your least creative time in your entire life. Now when you retire, creativity tends to go back up, so we do have a few creative individuals here in our audience with us today. One of the real problems, according to Mr. Thompson, is that we're taught to do things a certain way. We are shown that this is the correct way to run a business. This is the correct way to change a tire. This is the correct way to balance a ledger. Well, maybe you don't want to be creative there. Everything that we know in our life, we are taught to do a certain way from the time we're at a very young age. So we're actually, by learning things, we're fighting against our creative process. It's like the two actually fight each other. But creativity does come to everyone at some time. So let me ask you, where is the last time you remember having a creative idea? When or where has creativity hit you? Who wants to share something? Go ahead.
In the shower.
In the shower. Okay, actually that's a very common thing. Where else? Where else have you had creative ideas? Go ahead.
Shoveling snow.
Shoveling snow. Okay. Go ahead.
In the car in traffic.
In the car in traffic. Okay. Matt?
Sometimes when I'm at the bar with my friends,
Having
having a couple of drinks. You know?
Everybody has their own way of doing it. Go ahead, Matt.
Wow, I'm running.
While you're out running. Okay. It's interesting because all the ideas except for the bar idea are, sorry Matt, are on
It's all right.
a list of the top 10 creative places, according to Mr. Thompson. Number 10, manual labor. So for example, when you're out shoveling snow. Number 9, listening to a sermon. Good time to have your mind wander. Number 8, waking in the middle of the night. You wake up in a cold sweat and suddenly you have the great idea to pave your roof or something like that. Number 7, while exercising. Number 6, leisurely reading. Not reading to learn, but just leisurely reading. Number 5, at a boring meeting, which means no creative ideas ever happen here. Number 4, when you're first falling asleep or waking up. These tend to be my most creative times. Number 3, when you're on the toilet. So, in other words, since being on the toilet and being retired are both very creative times, if you ever want to see real creativity, just go watch John on the John. Number 2 is while commuting to work. And number 1 place, showering or bathing. That's where most people say that they come up with creative ideas. So how can we become more creative, other than maybe taking more baths or taking more trips to the toilet? Creativity actually happens when our minds are idle. The more our minds work, the less time they tend to have to relax and less time they tend to have to be creative. As a matter of fact, Ming Qin, a Chinese researcher, did some research in China and found that by teenage years, only 7.5% of Chinese teenagers are considered to be creative. They spend so much time working, learning the correct way to do things, their minds just don't have the time to relax. So some of the things that you can do to make your mind more creative. First of all, gather knowledge about the topic. Even though working and idle time work against each other in terms of creativity, if you understand the topic, it's going to help you create more ideas. Second, learn about other things. A lot of creativity is recombining ideas. It's taking ideas from other sciences, other people, and recombining them in a new way. And third, give your mind a chance to work on it by finding some idle time. Listen to music, exercise, talk to yourself or somebody else about it. I told my daughter and she said, "Oh, I talk to myself all the time. I must be very creative." It actually does work. Take the time to write it down, diagram it, whatever it is that helps you work with the information, and then give yourself some time to think about it, some time to work on it. And if everything else fails, just go visit John's bathroom. I'm sure a lot of creativity is going to happen there.